we have to do these practices slowly. It's a bit difficult to attain realization right after having meditated. Right, the next moment it's a bit difficult. You have to make $100,000. You have to make by accumulating $1, $2, not at once. But it seems that right at the formation of egg, there may not be the mind in it, and mind may be in the egg when it meets with the right condition. For example, with the meeting of the blood and the semen of the parents, just merely by meeting of these two, there will not be the consciousness coming in between them. Really, it is said that the seed for human body is the semen of parents. Likewise, the egg of the chicken is the seed for the chicken or whatever. Yeah. So maybe afterward, when the egg is formed, and afterward, when it meets with the heat or the warmth, at that time, the consciousness may enter into that. Because if the entering of consciousness has not to depend on the warmth or heat, then the case should be that right from the formation of the egg, there should be the chicken or the instead, the egg has either to be put into electric warmer or under the hands bump. There is the consciousness right from the beginning, then there should be the hand or the chicken from that beginning. There are the time the egg forms. I can't say much. You will have to ask to the chicken itself. Joke. And then firstly there will be conception and sometime after the consciousness. Not necessarily the time of conception, right? But it's not. Currently, there are the explanation that there are specific occasions that consciousness enter into the womb. So the occasions should be the time when both the semen of the parents meet at the womb, also when both the parents are in intense attachment, or the Tibetan word is same with attachment and desire, lust, whatever.
Medical science is that it can take up to 24 hours for the male semen to actually join with the female in a woman's body, to actually 24 hours after the sexual act.
Not necessary that the parents, the father's semen, should meet with the mothers right at the time of the intercourse. That is the general explanation, but it is actually very difficult to see because it has to be so various in accordance to the various karma of the sentient being. Drukchen Pangdung, who wrote the one-page Genesis Sadhana, it is said that he stayed in the womb of his mother for 50 years. Such legend. No, difficult to say actually. Actually, it is being spoken with regard to the majority number of sentient beings. There is one story in Tibet which says there was one woman who took a drop sperm of, or a dropped sperm of a man by a grass tip from the ground, and put it into her secret place, and afterward it generated and came into child. To speak about this in detail, you just ask to other learned person and other scientists, maybe to some great, very highly experienced person. The motivation that I listen to the teaching so that I may be able to attain enlightenment, to liberate all the sentient beings equal to the extent of the speed. And the teaching to be given is the text composed by Gyalsé Tokmé Zangpo, which was about the conduct the bodhisattvas had to act. Children of the conqueror, or Putra, or the son of the Buddha. This is a synonym of the bodhisattva. Generally, there are so many different kinds of conducts, but the best conduct among all the different kinds of conduct is the conduct of the children of the conquerors, or of bodhisattvas. And to become a bodhisattva, firstly one has to generate the bodhicitta, and bodhicitta cannot arise without cause and condition. And firstly, to understand about what kind of the cause and conditions that generate such kind of mind, it is firstly important to learn about those things. Then it is important first to do learning. And with regard to the practices, it is so vast and so profound, and for ordinary person it is very difficult to study them. Therefore, the author, Gyalsé Tokmé Zangpo, he presents all the profound and vast practice of bodhisattva within 37 verses or 37 stanzas. And firstly, to do the practice, one has to understand the practice, and regarding the bodhicitta, the cause which arise that are presented by the first 7 stanzas. Now we finished 9 verses, of which the 7 are the causes leading to generation of that mind, and 1 verse is the homage to the Buddha, and 1 verse was the author's promise to compose the text. So 2 verses, the homage and the promise, and rest 7 about the actual cause of generating bodhicitta. Think, reflect, and meditate. That is the first cause. If one has a strong mind, then one does not need to stay in solitude, but as long as one's mind is weak, it is important to stay in solitude. Therefore, the second practice. So, to leave the place where you can easily generate attachment and hatred, instead to go to a place of solitude. Therefore, the second practice was to leave your fatherland or native land. And even if a person has not a very strong mind, therefore it is very important for him to firstly leave the native place and to stay in solitude. And even if a person stays in solitude, but if he tries to amass wealth and try to be interested in this life's interest, then it is meaningless. Therefore, to forsake this life is the third practice of the children of the conquerors. And in the beginning, we might make friends, but afterward, with more familiarity, we see fault in each other. Therefore, ultimately, we leave our friends. So the friends, they are deceptive in nature. Therefore, to forsake evil company is one of the practice. And the question arises, shouldn't one have a friend? Of course, one should have a friend, and therefore to attain or to devote to a spiritual friend or one guru, that is one of the practice. To attain to a spiritual friend without minding about the hardship is one of the practice of the bodhisattva or children of the conquerors. And thereafter, not going for refuge to the worldly gods, instead going for refuge to the three jivas who are non-deceptive, that is one practice. In short, these 7 are the causes which led to the generation of bodhicitta. And thereafter, the part of the text deals with the 3-person practice. So 3-person practice, the fear of the small person of the lower rebirth is the small person's renunciation, and the intermediate person being afraid of the samsara is the renunciation of intermediate person. So these two, when turned toward other sentient beings, become the great compassion. So the 3 kinds of the things, they are not included in the 7 causes because of the very meaning that they are the actual bodhisattva. And then the next line opens with the words are very difficult to bear. So this refers to the suffering of the lower realms. So those suffering are those lower realm suffering, are those like a kind of attacks? Are they something which has been enforced? No, they are because of one's karma. For the unbearable suffering of the lower end, they actually are because of one's negative actions. The intense one, they bring hell around. The less intense one, the animal realm, the hungry ghost, and the lightest one, the animal realm. This actually was very much in accordance to the words of the Buddha, which says the suffering are because of the negative actions and happiness of the positive or virtuous actions. And not to talk about the result of future life in lower ends. Instead, the very result of the negative actions, they in this life also bring so many problems and hardships. In the worldly actions we do without examination, and we do them because of the power of the afflictions or delusions. And thereafter, within a very short moment, all the problems arise. And we have so many hardships and problems that we need to attend to a person to do a more observation, and we try to request for doing puja. So that is actually too late because we have already accumulated the cause for such problems before. In the past, we have accumulated the causes. So in this life, we have the problem. So it is better now we should abandon all those causes. We say or we blame that it is because of the spirit, it is because of the local goal, but actually they all are because of one's own fault. Because of this reason, not to commit negative action, even if it be the question of one's life, this is one of the conduct of the children of the conqueror. This actually is the adoption of the cause and effect law, and this is, in short, the very presentation of the practice of small person. One has done very pure going to refuge. Thereafter, one has adopted the cause and effect law. So it is definite in next life, one will definitely be born in the higher rebirth. First, we have gone to refuge away purely, and also we have abandoned the 10 non-virtuous actions and have adopted the 10 virtuous actions. Therefore, we will be born in the higher realm, and also because we have purified the past negative actions, and in this life we have promised not to commit and have abandoned the negative actions. Therefore, it is definite we will attain higher rebirth. And even though attaining higher rebirth, we may become the gods and the demigods, and even we may become the universal monarch or Chakravarti king, but they are subject to falling down, and they are without essence. Like as we explained before, even if one has attained the peak of cyclic existence state, for time being, because the course afflictions are checked, there is no falling down for time being. By the time when the afflictions, their power manifest, one will definitely go down. So the text where it says the happiness of the three existence are like the dewdrop on the grass. So it refers to the three existence, the three worlds, the underground experience all the different kinds of the worldly or mundane happiness, but because they are not the ultimate, therefore somehow we again come down to suffering. Times we were born as the god Indra, in which state even one small jewel of our shoe will not be equal by the wealth of all the universe put together. And in those states, we wear very expensive garments. Whereas sometimes we fall down into such low state like pig, which always enjoy on dirty foods. For all the prosperity of the world, they are subject to expiration, subject to exhaustion. Even the wealth we attained before, they have been lost, and even the high status we have attained, they have been lost. Therefore, they are subject to change and subject to extinction. To attain the unchanging bliss, firstly, we have to exhaust the body, which is the cause of the affliction and action. If this body or aggregate, which is the cause of the affliction and action, if this is expired, then we can attain the unchanging bliss. And how this can be extincted, this aggregate, this can be done so by training on the three higher trainings. Therefore, to train on the three higher training and thereby being near to the state of liberation is one of the practice of the conquerors, like children of conquerors. That state which one has attained, the state of liberation, which is the extinction of the samsara, if that state, if one uses or utilizes only for oneself, then that is not the practice of the bodhisattvas. Instead, that state has to be utilized for the sake of others. Because all the sentient beings who have been before one's father and mother and parents, and who has treated us with so much kindness, if we ignore them and instead try to attain liberation for ourselves, then that is one of the worst conduct and is very misbehavior, and this is not in accordance to the practice of the children of the conquerors. Therefore, the very dear and kind sentient being, mother sentient beings, not to forget them, instead for their sake generating the bodhicitta is the practice of the children of the conquerors. Because I will be teaching on Lamrim, therefore I don't want to go into detailed explanation of these points. So just very brief should be sufficient. So in order to liberate the limitless or infinite sentient beings, and for that purpose to generate bodhicitta is the practice of the children of the conquerors. To generate the bodhicitta, before that, firstly one has to generate the compassion, which is the very nature of unusual attitude. So unusual attitude compassion. To have this thought, firstly one should have generated the attitude to completely ignore about oneself, instead to cherish others completely. To generate the thought cherishing others, to generate that, firstly one has to think about the qualities of cherishing others and evils of not cherishing others. And one has to understand that all the happiness, they are the result of cherishing others, and even the slightest suffering right from the inability to attain enlightenment, all they are because of not cherishing others. And one has to understand these two. And to generate this thought of ignoring oneself and cherishing others, firstly, one has to generate the thought of equanimity. Firstly, it is very difficult for us to generate the thought of equalizing oneself with others. This thought is very difficult to generate. We have generated this thought of equalizing oneself with others, then the rest, they are quite easy to generate. And the bodhicitta, it is of two during the meditative equipoise and post-meditative equipoise. And during the meditative equipoise, one has to train on the equalizing of oneself with others. And during the time of the post-meditative equipoise, one has to take the bad circumstances as path. Regarding this subject of equalizing oneself with others and exchanging oneself with others, this actually has been done by Lama Hindu, and Rinpoche will also be talking about it during the time of three principal aspects of power. Also, I will be explaining it the time when it comes to the Lamrim's particular subject. Just go on very briefly. So there's no point in especially going into detail on this point. So during the meditative equipoise, one has to train one's mind on equalizing and exchanging oneself with others. And during the post-meditative time, one has to take the bad circumstances as part. So with regard to the second point, there has been explained in the text as 10 different practices. With the first, taking of the bad circumstances as part is whenever somebody robs one's possession by force. So to take such circumstances as part, that is first. Second is to take enemy as the part. And then whenever somebody speaks unsweet word, to take that as the part. And to take the part whenever somebody speaks bad word, like trying to speak your fault. So it seems a little bit like the before one. They're actually different. Next, taking as part is the circumstances. When you do good to others, they repay in bad, in return, to take that as part. The next is taking apart the circumstances when somebody, because of pride, try to abuse you or try to belittle you. Of the part of the circumstance when one becomes very poor without much possessions, is taking the wealth as one's part. If one has so many good possessions, to take them as part, and to take hatred as the part, and then to take attachment as the part, During the meditative equipoise, one has to stay in bodhicitta, and the time one arrives from that meditation, then there are 10 occasions which actually are like hardships which are normally people can't bear to take. So those 10 circumstances which are unbearable, we should be able to bear. Somebody, because of great attachment, try to rob your possession. Normally what we do is try to appeal to magistrate or try to grab that back to your own possession. So this we shouldn't do. Actually, instead of becoming angry for his robbing your possession, you have to instead dedicate all your body, wealth, and merit for him. So it is actually very difficult. During such occasions, one way of thinking is to think that because I have robbed his possession in past life, therefore it is appropriate that he takes my possession this time. Therefore, to think about the law of cause and effect, this is the way which one should think in one way. And second way of to think is, I have accumulated this wealth because of self-cherishing mind, and I have not been able to eliminate the self-cherishing mind, and also I have not been able to do the perfection of the generosity. So this person is helping me to eliminate self-cherishing mind, and also he is helping me to arise occasion to do generosity. Therefore, to look that person as very kind is second way of thinking. Now, because we have listened to the 37 practices teaching, therefore time when such robbing of one's possession arises, we should not be angry to that person, the robber, instead to regard him as very kind, and not only that, to dedicate the merit for him. So in such occasion, try to think that he helps me to eliminate the self-cherishing mind, he helps me to eliminate the miserly merit. Therefore, he is very kind, and he is like one teacher. Therefore, to dedicate the merit of oneself for him. Actually, the great bodhisattvas, they regard the robbing of their possession by others better than their actual act of giving. And why this is so is because the act of giving is something which you can bear to do, therefore you are doing. Whereas the robbing of your possession is unbearable thing, and if you can bear that, then it is very special. Therefore, the bodhisattvas in Tibetan, they are called Gyalsé Tokmé Zangpo. So that pa literally means hero. So why they are hero is because they can bear something unbearable. So actually, the precept of bodhisattva goes in a 2-line verse which says the victory and the triumph is given to others, and the lows and the decline is taken upon oneself. And then next is to somebody whom you have done very good, helped very much, but that person returns back by cutting your neck or your head. So in such occasion, because of compassion, trying to pray that his negative wishes be ripened upon oneself. So this actually goes in accordance to the lines in the 8 verses called training. So this is one of the practice of the children of the conquerors. So the practice of patience, if somebody tried to hit you by stick, then in such occasion, to whom you are to feel angry again? Should it be to the stick? No, it should be within the hatred which is in his mind stream. It is because of the hatred within the person that caused him to hit you. Therefore, in such occasion, instead trying to take his hatred and negativities upon oneself with the practice of giving and taking, So that is one practice. Point, it has been very detailedly addressed in Bodhisattva's way of life. I don't need to go into detail. And with regard to Buddha, while one of his former lifetime when he was Bodhisattva monkey, that time there was one criminal man in the deep well. So the Bodhisattva monkey, he generated the thought of saving the criminal man from drowned well. And firstly, the monkey, he trained his skills in jumping and lifting smaller weight article and to bigger one. And afterward, when the monkey was able to lift the weight of that criminal person, he actually lifted that criminal from the well. And after lifting the criminal from that well, actually the criminal should have thanked the monkey because so kind for saving him. Instead, the criminal killed the monkey. And actually the monkey, before dying, when he was still breathing, the monkey did a prayer that I have no aspiration in return for having done harm to the person. Instead, the very harm he inflicted on me has been very beneficial to me. Why this is so is because the very unbearable thing which the criminal inflicted on him, he has been able to bear, and because of that, so many negativities of many aeons have been purified. Actually, according to it, we should be able to laugh at a person when somebody hits on your head. So this is in accordance to the text where it says somebody, whoever cuts my head, even in such, because of the power of compassion, his negativity is taking on oneself as the practice of the children of the conqueror. This is the second practice, taking the enemy as the part. Somebody speaks very unsweet of you, saying you have done something which actually I haven't done. So in such occasion, try to regard that person as one's teacher is the practice of the children of conquerors. And generally there is a saying which goes like this: if praise one's pride increases, whereas if somebody speaks of your fall, then it is actually a lesson for you. Therefore, not to be happy when praised. Instead, when you are abused or belittled by someone, try to be happy and understand your fall. And all the fall, they arise from self-cherishing mind. So whenever somebody speaks about your fall, they are actually indirectly helping you to eliminate your self-cherishing mind. Therefore, for a bodhisattva, such person, whenever he speaks about your fall, is like a teacher. Like the verse which comes into prayer called beginning and end. In that prayer, whoever speaks about you or whoever speaks unsweet of you, especially generating love for that. Even if the person he speaks unsweet about you, who speaks about your fault in such a loud voice that it fills the three walls, the bodhisattva, they instead feel very happy and they still insisting on to repeat the person to speak more forward. And generally our attitude is like this: whenever somebody speaks evil about our forward, we feel unhappy. Whereas the bodhisattva, they instead of feeling unhappy, they feel happy. It is like the very line which we come in the Guru Puja: if somebody abused, degrades, still not being unshake or still being unshakable, this is the practice of the patience. Taking the unsweet word as the path. Really what it is in Tibet we call unsweet. Then the next is if somebody to whom we look upon as one child, but if he in return try to look to you as enemy, then in such cases or in such situations, we should look that not as, in such cases, we should look as a mother who has a child is very sick. In such cases, how the mother look to the child, likewise we look to that person. Even if we regard him as one child, he in return look at you as enemy. For example, if a child who is very sick and mentally insane, and he picks up a stone and throws at the mother, but the mother will not be angered. No. What person to whom you look upon as your child, and who in return look to you as enemy, is because of his afflictions, and he himself is very much under the power of afflictions. And actually, if we think carefully, he is so kind, and he can be a factor for your attaining enlightenment. We should look upon such person as insane because of the power of afflictions, like a mother who has a child who is suffering from a sickness, and because of that sickness, try to grab a stone and throw at her. So there is actually no need for us to feel angry to that person, instead to be compassionate and to think that it is because of his afflictions or delusions. Such cases, to be very specially compassionate is the practice of the children of conqueror, which says thereafter somebody higher or lower, a superior, inferior, because of the pride, abuses you. So generally, there are so many occasions people try to abuse or belittle you because of their pride. It's normally very much part of our attitude that if we know little, then we instantly try to belittle a person who doesn't know much. If person because of pride belittle you, then in such occasions try to regard that person as one's guru or lama and to respect him by taking on one's throne. This is the practice of the children of conqueror. And why people are with pride is because their attitude of wanting them to be superior. Therefore, to take such person on one's head is the practice of the children of conqueror, and generally the person's lowest part is their feet, and to take their feet on your highest part of the body, that is crown, this is the practice. Because of the person's pride, he is abusing you, so in return you regard him as your guru or lama, and to respect him by taking him on your head. This is the practice of the children of conqueror. Next part, then it says, if one is very poor and without any money, and still upon that, if one feels sick, then such situation is very poor situation. Such a very miserable situation when you are without any livelihood and with sickness and forsaken or abandoned by your relatives and friends. Such occasion or such situation actually seems that there cannot be any more miserable situation than that. But still in such situation, you try to generate the attitude that although I am in such miserable situation, still I take the negativities and suffering of all the sentient beings upon oneself. So this is the practice of the children of conqueror. In such situation, not to be depressed, instead to generate more bravery. Actually, this really taking of the path of such situation, it can accumulate great merit, and Bodhisattvas, they actually do like this, to take such situation, a situation which is so depressed from the viewpoint of being poverty of livelihood and being poor because of sickness and being poor because abandoned by relatives and friends. Actually, there is a saying which says that to be the situation of beggar is advantage for practice of the Dharma, because in such situation one can do the practice of the Dharma and one can also generate the bodhicitta and so forth. And whereas if you are very much rich with all the possession, then you will be holding the full or involved in the wealth and possessions. This is a situation asking, in such situation when a person is very much praised by others and he is very wealthy, like the god of the wealth, Vaishnava or Namtase. In such situation, when one is praised and very wealthy, how should a bodhisattva act? And even if a bodhisattva is with such fame and wealth, but in such situation, not to generate attachment and pride, this is the practice of the children of conqueror. And there is actually a very good example of the seventh Dalai Lama, Gyalsé Tokmé, and he said that although all the Tibet belonged to him as Dalai Lama, but there never arise in him the very thought that all these are mine. But even if one is very famous and rich, but not to be proud and not to have attachment, this is the practice of the children of conquerors.